9:23. We're into the 70s across central Indiana. I want to make you aware that tomorrow is PTSD Awareness Day. It's a day to learn more about post-traumatic stress disorder, the form that it takes, who it can affect. Rolene Demings is a contributor to Indy Mom's blog, and she's now made a habit of talking to us about some tough stuff, and with some degree of expertise, because especially when we talk about kids, you're an educator, so you see some of these things up close. You're wearing the teal that signifies PTSD Awareness Day. When you think about that and how it may relate to families, what do we need to know about post-traumatic stress?
Well, it's a mental health disorder that affects adults, teens, and children. And the way that it's diagnosed is if children are experiencing different behaviors after a month's time. So, you know, when you go through a traumatic experience, of course you're going to have effects, but if that lasts more than a month, that's when it's diagnosed as PTSD.
It's a rather startling number that the experts say that most children, and then into their teenage years, most have experienced at least one traumatic incident?
Before 16, yep, at least once.
When we think about that, I guess what sorts of things could be those triggering events? When we talk about PTSD, it's very often with military members who experience terrible things overseas. Right. But we're talking about things that can happen in our children's daily lives.
Absolutely. It could be something as simple as divorce, or the death of a parent, school shootings, or, you know, in some of our urban areas, the shootings in the neighborhood. So abuse, witnessing abuse or experiencing it as well.
And then, so how does that manifest itself? If we're looking at our kiddo, talking with them, what might we see or hear them do or say?
Sometimes it's the obvious outbursts or crying, but other times it's, you know, a student or a child might be zoning out or blaming themselves for things that, you know, they don't need to blame themselves for, or over apologizing, and also just being afraid of things that they normally wouldn't be afraid of, and just that anxiety.
A conversation I had with a parent not long ago was about a kiddo that came and said they were thinking things they didn't like they didn't have control over their own thoughts, and it scared them.
Absolutely. You know, their little minds can't quite process it all, so that's when we're here to help. So
what should parents do if they find themselves in that situation, or if a parent realizes, you know what, I saw or went through some things that are still affecting me deeply?
Absolutely. I'd say give yourself that 1 month grace period of just trying to get through it. But if a month has passed, then that's the time to take action. Of course, reaching out to a mental health therapist through cognitive behavioral therapy. But for our smaller kids, play therapy is really effective.
And there are a couple of ways that you can reach out if you want to. This is how dedicated Rolene is. She's written on her own body this crisis line.
Don't tell them that.
It's on your
hand. I did. It is on my hand.
I love it.
It is 1-800-666 or 667-HELP. And something really neat that I've actually used as a teacher to be more discreet is you can actually text the word connect to 741-741, and that way you can interact with a mental health counselor directly without your child knowing, you know, what's going on.
That's dedication. Indy Mom's blog contributor, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Good to see you.
It's good to have an ally on difficult topics. People who've been in the classroom and can help us guide kids through tough stuff. So thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. It's 9:27 right now. Again, we are in the 70s and headed to the 80s, maybe even beyond today. We'll get a full forecast and the day's top news stories right after this.